All right, today we are jumping into a really fascinating story about intellectual property in the age of AI. And honestly, it's a classic David versus Goliath setup, a single developer going head-to-head with, well, Google.
And like a lot of these stories, this one kicks off with a number, a huge number. Yep, $10 million. That's the figure at the very center of this whole dispute, and it tells you right away that the stakes here are incredibly high.
So what's the deal here? Well, the core accusation comes from this developer, James Anthony Lambert. He's basically claiming that Google straight up took his secret sauce, this AI logic he calls Gemini 3 Deep Think, and used it for their own massive AI projects.
Okay, so that's the accusation, a cool $10 million. Before we get into the wild stuff, let's just take a quick look at what the official claim actually says. So here are the basics, right? You've got the claimant, James Lambert, the defendant, Google. The case was filed in late 2025, and it's all about his special AI logic. Seems pretty straightforward on the surface, doesn't it? But trust me, this is where things get really interesting.
To really get what's happening here, we have to step away from the legal papers and go somewhere else. We're going inside the developer's digital workshop to look at the evidence.
Now, the key piece of evidence here, it isn't some smoking gun email, it's not a secret recording. It's basically an inventory log from a digital workshop, a super detailed, second-by-second record of every tool he used and everything he did.
And yeah, this is what it looks like. I know, right? At first glance, it's just a wall of gibberish. It looks intimidating, maybe even meaningless. But here's the thing. Buried inside all this jargon are the clues that completely flip the story on its head.
So how in the world does this line of code connect to a $10 million lawsuit against one of the biggest companies on the planet? That's the puzzle we're going to solve. Let's put on our detective hats and decode this thing together.
All right, let's start chipping away at this. We're going to break it down piece by piece and figure out the who, the where, and the what from these system logs.
First up, the who. See that user ID all over the logs? James Ann? Well, it turns out that's the digital signature for, you guessed it, James Anthony Lambert, our claimant. Boom, we've just placed our main character at the scene.
Okay, next, the where. And this is huge. Check out this file path that keeps popping up over and over. /opt, /google, /cross-container/. Now, that's not just some random folder. That path proves that Lambert was doing all his work inside a Chrome OS Linux container, an environment created, managed, and provided by Google.
And he wasn't just dropping in for a second. The logs show him using a whole suite of specialized tools, stuff like Sommelier and Garcon, that are designed specifically for working deep inside this system. This is not a casual visitor, folks. This is someone who has set up a full-blown workshop and is putting in serious time.
And just look at the timestamps. He's firing up these interactive sessions, that's the bash part, starting at 5:51 in the morning. And he just keeps going, all the way through the afternoon until after 2 p.m. We're talking about a solid, documented day of work, all happening inside Google's playground. Okay, we've got all our clues. So now let's lay them all out on the table and see how this technical evidence connects directly to that massive legal claim.
And this is where the penny drops. The digital evidence shows the user is James Ann Plus. The legal claim is from James Anthony Lambert. Check. The logs show he's working inside Google's containers. The claim is against Google. Check. And the subject of the claim is Gemini AI, which is exactly the kind of thing he was developing in there. It all lines up, almost a little too perfectly.
And that perfect alignment, well, it points us directly to the central and kind of shocking irony of this entire situation.
So just take a second to let this sink in. On one hand, you have the accusation. A developer says a tech giant stole his work. But on the other hand, you have the digital proof that this same developer was using the tech giant's own proprietary tools on their own platform to create that work in the first place.
Let's go back to that workshop analogy one last time, because it's perfect. This is like an inventor accusing a factory owner of stealing their blueprints, when the evidence shows they drew those plans inside the owner's factory using the owner's tools the entire time.
And this whole case really leaves us with a massive and kind of tricky question for our times. When the digital workshop is owned by a giant, who really owns the work that gets done inside? That's the real $10 million question, isn't it?